This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Caddles.
Sports is brought to you by Prize Picks, largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. And check this out. Prize Picks doing a cool thing this weekend. They have a free square for UFC 303 this Saturday night. Alex Pereira has to get more than 0.5 significant strikes, and that square will win. I will tell you, as a UFC fan, you have a great chance of that happening. I'd say it's pretty much a 99% guarantee that Pereira lands a significant strike, and it probably happens within the first 15 seconds of this fight. Also, take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Greg, we're going to take a look at this team right now, and the projected starters go position by position and see how we feel. Better, the same, or worse about said position. Let's start at quarterback, Jacoby Brissett.
So these are, just to give people background, so these are our projected starters, not
yes.
I mean, I guess maybe there are projected starters somewhere, maybe on Patriots.com. I don't know. But these are sort of our choices for the opening day starter. And I have Jacoby Brissett. I think the odds are pretty strong that he starts at least opening week, if not a significant portion of the schedule. I feel better about where Jacoby Brissett is compared to where the Patriots finished the season. Of course, you know, Mac Jones was on the bench. Bailey Zappi was starting. We all know about the debacle. I just think that Jacoby Brissett, with his background in this offense, his ability to limit the turnovers, the ability to use his legs when needed, I think that, and it might not be the first week of the season, but I think eventually he will give them more stable quarterback play, and that's really what this team needs. They need to hang on to the ball, both in terms of turnovers and time of possession, and if they do that, then they should be in a lot of these games, and I think that's all we're really looking for out of these Patriots.
The bar is low. Brissett's better. I mean, come on. Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones last year. Give me a break. All right, Rhamondre Stevenson last year, Rhamondre Stevenson this year.
Yeah, I feel better about it because of, he's got the contract thing out of the way. He's come back a little bit more trimmed down. I think he's up the muscle and eliminated the fat, and sort of changed his body a little bit. And I think you're going to see a little bit of a better burst out of him. I don't know if he's necessarily going to give you more in the passing game than, what he normally does in terms of just, check downs, the occasional screens and stuff like that. But I think he's going to be a little bit more explosive. So I feel better about Rhamondre Stevenson going into this season.
I'm at the same level. I want to see how the lighter version looks when you get the pads on and, the yards after the contact. He's always been kind of great spinning out of tackles. Does that remain the case? Can he stay healthy? With a little bit less weight. So I'm pretty much same level with Rhamondre. All right, we'll look at the pass receiving back. We go, I would guess, Ezekiel Elliott, we could say, third down back here. And you've got Antonio Gibson this year.
Yeah, so I feel better about it. Not that, I think that Ezekiel Elliott was a good player for them. I thought, I was a little bit surprised that he lasted as long as he did on the market, but I think most people probably figured he would go back to Dallas, which he ended up doing. I thought he was a better backup, role sharing sort of running back than he was out of the backfield, but he was pretty good out of the backfield. Good hands, not a whole lot of burst, but would shake a few tackles. But from what I've seen from Antonio Gibson so far, I really like him. I think he's a little bit better, a little bit more agile than Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. Better hands, can catch a variety of passes, not just swing passes. You can get him on the wheel. You can match him up with a linebacker, and he might be able to do some things. Now, it's not going to be James White or something like that, but I do think it's an upgrade, so I feel better about that.
I'm with you. I think Gibson brings them more explosivity than Zeke did. You mentioned all the different things he could do as a receiver. He was a receiver in college, so he's a better pass catcher. He's a more versatile pass catcher. I think he's a great fit for this system in AVP, so I feel better about that position like you do. Tight end 1, Hunter Henry.
So I feel a little bit worse about this just because, Hunter's getting up there in age. I certainly thought he was worthy of bringing back on a contract because they didn't have anybody else at the position.
Right.
But I wouldn't say he blew me away or anything this offseason. While other tight ends on the roster were getting open for things, for receptions, red zones, things like that, whether it's Austin Hooper or Jaheim Bell or even Petway, Wilcox a little bit towards the end. You didn't see a ton from Hunter Henry, so that gives me some pause. I got a BSJ member question where somebody was saying that, I wrote or said on the podcast that I thought that Hunter Henry might have lost a step, and he was basically like, and the member was like, explain. And I don't know what to tell you. It's not like I can produce video for you and illustrate it with off-season practices. It's just, you're going to have to trust, what I'm seeing. And again, it's just sort of a off the hip observation. Obviously, I'm not sitting there studying Hunter Henry, so I can't definitively tell you he's lost a step. But I thought that, some of it was the offense last year. We all know what he did in his first year with Mac Jones, and he was really good, and his production has gone down since then. A lot of that was probably the offense and what was going on with the quarterback position, the offensive coordinators, and all that. But just I thought that in this offense, which is pretty tight end friendly, I thought I'd see a little bit more out of Hunter Henry in the offseason practices, and I didn't. So that's why I feel a little bit worse about it.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a veteran. He's been a trusted and dependable guy. He's coming off of an injury. He's working with a new offense. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until about August. So I'd say I feel the same, subject to change. If this continues, what you saw at minicamp, then I would have a problem. But for right now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt of the veteran. All right, Pop Douglas.
So just to give people background, I look back to last year. So the snap percentage in order at wide receivers went DeVante Parker, Pop Douglas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kendrick Bourne, and Jalen Reagor. So I am projecting not really wide receiver 1, but I think Pop's going to get the most action. Yeah. Maybe not in terms of snaps, but I do think I was very impressed with him where he sort of built off of what he did last year as a rookie. I thought he had a very impressive rookie campaign once he got out there. I think he's going to be even better. Hopefully these coaches know how to utilize him. Hopefully the wide receivers coach, Tyler Hughes, is good. But I feel better because of what I saw from Pop during the offseason practices, and I think, he's only going to go up.
I agree. I feel better. He's now seasoned, as they say, a year under his belt. I don't think he'll be looking over his shoulder as much, especially what happened early in the season last year. I mean, we forget the Miami fumble, and then he was pretty much a forgotten guy for a few weeks there. So I think he's going to be given the opportunity with this coaching staff, even if he does have a misstep or two. I think he's a good football player, and he's got more help around him. The receivers, to me, overall are better. It's a better situation. So I expect him to be better this year than last, as long as he stays healthy, which with head stuff, we never know. All right, KJ Osborn / Juju is how you had this one listed.
Yeah, so I guess I would put this as you're basically comparing it to DeVante Parker from last year. And so I like a lot of what I've seen from both players. All right, maybe not a lot, but I've liked what I've seen out of both players. I like KJ's a professional. He's been in the scheme. He knows what he's doing. I like his profile, I like his athletic ability. I don't like the way he catches the ball. He's been struggling to catch the ball. That's always an issue. It's always an issue for a wide receiver. If you can't catch the ball, that's sort of job one. Yeah. And so he had an issue with this last year in Minnesota. We all thought that was the anomaly for him because normally he's been a pretty sure-handed guy. But last year and now this offseason, you're starting to wonder if he's in some sort of slump. And Juju, I mean, I just don't know whether he's going to be here at the end of the day. So, this is comparing basically KJ Osborn to DeVante Parker. I put worse, but I would say I feel about the same. Everybody knows I wasn't the biggest Parker fan, but he did come up with some plays at times, and of course he dropped some big plays at times, and then didn't want to take responsibility for it. So, the whole catching thing, it's pretty even right now to me. So I'm going to say the same for this spot.
Yeah, I mean, I probably rest somewhere around the same, but I do think there's room for growth if Osborn can figure things out. And if the dropsies are not that big of an issue, then he would be, to me, a no doubt upgrade over what you had last year. So hopefully he irons that out. And we're not even going to talk about Javon Baker, so maybe he can show up in training camp. That's another option here. But I would rest on the same right now. Let's get to one more receiver. I don't know how you want to split this up as far as who you're comparing him to, but Ja'Lynn Polk.
Yeah, so I guess if we've done Parker and Douglas, I guess this would be the Juju/Bourne spot from last year. And we all know that, Kendrick Bourne's coming back from an ACL. He's probably going to start the season on PUP, and we'll have to see what happens with him. But I feel better. I mean, anybody who's listened to this podcast or read me knows how I feel about Ja'Lynn Polk and what I've seen on the field from him. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's got a chance to be, at least statistically, one of the best rookie receivers for the Patriots in some time. I just think he's Jacoby Myers with much bigger upside and very sure-handed, tough, smart, knows what he's doing. I love Ja'Lynn Polk, and so I feel a lot better about the third wide receiver spot going into this year.
I'm with you. More complete, more competitive. I love his makeup. He's produced on the field. He's got unbelievable hands. So I would feel much better about Ja'Lynn Polk than really any receiver from last year outside of maybe Pop Douglas.
Who doesn't love going to an MLB game during the summer, especially with the Red Sox turning things around? The ballpark has always been home to me and my family, and we'll definitely get there at some point, and we'll use Game Time to get us there. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, viewed from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I got to tell you, I've been on the app. I buy tickets. We're going to go to a Red Sox game, I think, in a couple weeks. I went through Game Time. I love how you can see the views from all the seats in the venue. That, especially at Fenway with obstructed view and all that stuff, that's a must for me. I need to know where I'm sitting. I need to know what the view is. I don't want to be, pointed towards center field when everything's going on my right and have to be in traction for the next week. So I love the Game Time app for giving me that view because I have to have it. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Let's finish up the offense up front. Greg, we'll look at the O-line. Left tackle, a core four versus Trent Brown.
At first, I wanted to give it to Trent Brown, and I do think Trent Brown, for all his Trent Brownish, has been a, he when he was there and he wasn't in the Matt Patricia offense, he was, pretty solid. Of course, there's a lot of other things that come with Trent Brown. Yeah. But in terms of starting the season and playing, I like Trent Brown. I think he's good. I think his size, his length, causes a lot of issues for edge players in the NFL. A core four, I liked what I've seen out of him so far. I know internally they like what they've seen out of him so far, but we haven't seen him in pads yet. And who knows? Maybe he's not tough enough at the end of the day. We don't know. You don't know that until the pads go on.
Yeah.
And so right now it's a bit of a mystery what they're going to get out of him. But I would say I feel about the same starting the season with a core four. That's being a little generous. Because there are a lot of questions about him, and Trent Brown, you kind of knew what you were going to get, and you got that, the whole thing. So, but I'm going to say I feel about the same right now at that spot.
I feel worse because I don't know what Chooks is going to be. At least I knew who Trent Brown was, better or worse. I knew what I was getting into, right? The good and the bad of him. So I would go worse just because the jury is still out on a core four. Also still out as we record on Karen Reed. Anyway, let's go to the left guard spot. Sidy Sow against, you would say, are you going to look at this as position or as the player?
I'm going to look at this as the position, so it would be Cole Strange that we are comparing him to. I liked a lot of what I saw out of Sidy Sow last year. I wouldn't say that he's come in and shown like a different level. I wouldn't say he's especially bigger or quicker or anything like that. We all know Cole's sort of limitations, and the more he played, the better Cole was.
Yeah.
I have the same worry though with both guys, especially in this division, with a lot of big, strong defensive tackles. Cole Strange had a lot of issues with those guys. I could see Sidy Sow because he's also sort of light in the tuchus, as you would like to say, the same as Cole. So I'm worried that they're going to have the same limitations there. So I'm going to go with the left guard spot. I'm going to say I feel the same about where the Patriots were last year.
I feel better because of Cole Strange's injury history and the fact that he went down at the end of last year. So I feel better about the left guard spot. So played left guard in college, so he gets back to his collegiate position. He's got the same thing like Pop Douglas, a little bit more seasoning, and I would hope and expect better coaching from Scott Peters than what we got from Adrian Clem last year. So I'm going to say I feel a little bit better about So than Strange. David Andrews.
So this is going to hurt a little bit, and I don't want people to take this out of context because everybody knows how I feel about the captain, David Andrews, and about the type of player he's been. And I'm so glad that he's back and hasn't decided to retire, because I do think he's a really good player. I think he's completely underrated. I think he's underappreciated even around here. However, I feel slightly worse about this, and I'll just the only reason is I haven't seen him in the scheme, and this scheme puts a lot more on the center. The old Patriots scheme was a lot more on the quarterback in terms of protections and changing plays and all that stuff, and the center was basically a sidecar. The center runs the deal up front in this scheme, so that's a change. Not that I don't think David Andrews can do that. I totally think he can do it. I just haven't seen it yet. And the other thing is, this is a zone blocking scheme, and I wrote about this earlier this week, talking about the offensive line and talking to people around the league. And there are a lot of concerns that they don't have the right types of offensive linemen to run this zone blocking scheme, which is more predicated on athletic linemen, smaller, athletic, get out, get angles, things like that. And I don't say that it's not a weakness for David Andrews. It's just, we haven't seen him do it yet, but I do have a lot of confidence in David Andrews. I always have, but until I see it, I feel a little bit worse about this spot this year.
I'm rolling with the same. That might be boring, but I'm going same with David Andrews just because I think he's got a high football IQ. I think this is going to kind of rejuvenate him a little bit this year. And he's just solid. So I'm going to say the same for David Andrews. All right, right guard. We've got right now, as of June 28th, 2024, as we record this, it is Mike Onwenu last we saw at right guard. So I guess we'll just kind of project him to be right guard for now. So you're going Onwenu versus Sidy Sow. Yeah,
I think that Onwenu, I think that he's going to start at right guard. I think they want to get Caedan Wallace on the field. There's the whole yin and yang with that. I mean, from what I understand from talking to people, his move from left tackle to right tackle is not about him like busting at left tackle. It's actually they like what they've seen out of him, but it's just, what do? You see this a lot. I mean, even the Patriots with, Matt Light. Matt Light started at right tackle and then moved over to left tackle. Nate Solder started at right tackle. He was drafted to be a future left tackle to succeed Matt Light. And so a lot of teams do this where they put their, they would rather get the tackle on the field and sort of, in their mind, upgrade the talent, the best 5, get them on the field. So right now I have Onwenu at right guard. If you're comparing it to City So, obviously this is better. Just in general, I'm more comparing, and I'm obviously changing the criteria for different positions to suit my own agenda.
The rules halfway through.
Exactly. So I'm comparing Onwenu to himself, and I feel slightly worse about it. I don't think he reported in the greatest of shape. Again, that's my opinion. I don't have any definitive proof for you. Just, what I've seen. And I can tell you there are internal concerns about whether Mike Onwenu, now that he's gotten the big contract, whether he's going to be the same player. There is a feeling from people, around the team that they think he's the type of guy who doesn't 100% love football. And now that he's sort of arrived with the paycheck, maybe it's not as good. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's a concern and something we're going to have to look out for going into this year. But I do. So for those reasons, I feel slightly worse about Mike Onwenu this year compared to last year.
Sticking with the initial criteria, I'm going to say Onwenu is better than City So, rookie right guard versus one of the best guards in football. So I'm going to go with Onwenu and feel better about him. As far as the weight, we'll see. Maybe we'll get Bedard out there first day of training camp with a scale and see if he can get Onwenu to stand on it. See how that conversation goes. All right.
Yeah.
Look at right tackle. We ended the year last year with Mike Onwenu at right tackle. Now we're projecting Caedan Wallace to be the guy. How's that comp work for you?
Yeah, so obviously Wallace compared to Mike Onwenu, I feel a lot worse. And Mike Onwenu looking for a big contract, an extension, or free agency, or what have you. I feel worse about that. I'm more comparing Caedan Wallace to Vidarian Lowe, who got a lot of snaps there last year. That was a bit of a train wreck, but I think that you would like to think that Caedan Wallace can't do any worse than that. I'm not so sure. I need to see this. I need to see this kid in pads. There are toughness questions about him. We'll have to see whether that's true or not. But, for right now, I'm saying I feel about the same at right tackle.
For right now, I'm feeling worse because I don't know what Wallace is going to be. I hope he can figure it out, and obviously played a ton of right tackle at Penn State. Maybe he'll end up being good, hopefully, but I don't know until I see him out there in training camp. So I've got an unknown rookie in Wallace versus Onwenu, and Onwenu was at least average at right tackle. So I'd say I feel worse. All right, let's jump to the other side of the football. Defense, DeMarcus Covington, new defensive coordinator, running that side of the ball. We start on the edge. Matthew Judon, Keion White.
Yeah, so I have them as a platoon and a platoon on the other side. Matthew Judon, we'll have to see what ultimately happens with him. If it's just Keion White, I don't know if I feel as good, even though I think he had an awesome offseason, and I think he's going to be a beast this year. But I'll just say that the tandem of Matthew Judon and Keion White, and if they keep them all on the same roster, which I think the odds are probably pretty good, I think they want to beef up the defense. It's Mayo's baby, keep them in games, all that stuff. So the chances of Judon getting dealt, I don't think are great, but I don't think you can totally, look past that possibility. But if they stay the same with, I would say Keion White's sort of the starter. If you remember last year before Matthew Judon's injury, at least in the first halves of games or most of games, they took some of his early down load off to keep him more fresh. I could see that again where Keion White is on the edge for first and second down or something like that. And then on third down, Matthew Judon comes in, White kicks inside, Devon Godchow comes off the field. So for that sort of platoon situation, I feel better because Matthew Judon is going to be back healthy. Hopefully he's motivated, and Keion White has definitely improved and I think is in a better spot to utilize his athletic talents.
I feel better. I'm expecting a step forward for White. I can't wait to watch him play with pads on. I can't wait to see him get going. All right, defensive tackle, Christian Barmore.
Got the big contract. Love Barmore. Thought he was great last year. From what I hear, there are a lot of concerns about his knee that has given him issues. I just don't know. He certainly has the potential to improve on what he did last year. I just don't know if that can be the expectation. I don't have any concerns about him and his contract. I think that he will be as hungry as ever. Again, that's just a gut instinct of mine. I don't have any, ready facts to present on that. But I just from what I've observed of him in his time as a Patriot, I feel really good about him continuing to work hard and all that stuff. But I just don't know with his durability concerns whether he can definitely improve on last year. It would be huge for the Patriots if he does, but we'll have to see. So I'm going the same for Christian Barmore.
I can't predict injury, so I'm going to say better. I feel slightly better about Barmore because I do think he has that other level. I think he's got another step. Right now, Pro Football Focus has him between like 10 and 15, ranked on interior defensive linemen across the league. I think he could absolutely get into the top 5 to 10. I think he's got that next step in him. So I'm gonna say slightly better about Barmore. Devon Godchow.
So, I think that at this point in time, I think we know who Devon Godchow is and what you get out of him. You'll get a couple of special games every year. You'll get some dog games out of him. You get pretty consistent play, I would say, outside of that. But to me, I'm going to put it slightly worse because of his contract situation. And, I think this is real. He's already been on Twitter, talking about it, about how he, wants something fair. Is that going to happen? What's that going to look like? What kind of precedent does that set? I think it's a very tenuous time, and I don't know. I can't tell you when he's going to be on the practice field. I could definitely see a hold-in situation. How's that going to affect him? It didn't work out for Judon last year, so I'm slightly worried about this whole – all right, I'm more than slightly worried. I'm worried about this situation. And so for that reason, I feel worse about nose tackle going into this year.
It's interesting because it could go either way, right? The contract year can kind of bog him down. He can be miserable and have a down season. Or it could be a contract year. He could be pissed, be motivated, chip on the shoulder, say, screw you to the Patriots. I'm going to go out there and ball and then leave you in free agency. I'm going to be optimistic. I don't know why. But I'm going to go slightly better, maybe because I believe that Mayo will get the best out of him and they'll be able to talk him down a little bit and get him focused. It really does depend on the contract, though. So I don't know how he's going to approach this. If he's going to be the curmudgeon and just be peeved all year, not in a good way, then it could end up being a disaster. Hopefully it motivates him and he wants to prove to the football world he's worth one last big payday. All right, let's get to the opposite edge. We've got Anthony Jennings and Joshua Uche.
Yeah. So, Nick, one thing I wanted to ask you, because as people know from my last podcast, I've been in travel ball hell this summer. So I haven't exactly kept up on everything. I did get a BSJ member question this week about, they basically said that Josh Uche is complaining about his contract after he just signed the short 1-year deal with the Patriots. And I don't know if you know anything more about it. It was the first I had heard of it. I texted Giardi today about it, and he pointed to Mike Reese mentioning Josh Uche on Sunday as part of sort of the contract squabbles going on. Do you know anything more on this?
The only thing I've seen is the same thing as Giardi said, which was Mike Reese on Sunday writing kind of hinting towards, he handled mandatory minicamp differently than a guy who just signed an extension, kind of an extension, if you want to call it that. I don't know, a 1-year deal, and looking at how he was handled that camp and hinting towards the idea that he might have some issue. But it's actually something I've been trying to figure out, and maybe you can help me out on this. If a guy signs in March, he can't redo his deal right away, can he? Isn't there some kind of rule that stops him, prohibits him from circling back? Because I would imagine that would be a huge loophole. Why would teams not sign guys to like 1-year deals and then circle back 3 months later and be like, oh, surprise, the guy that we gave a 1-year deal 3 months ago, we're going to give him a 5-year deal at $100 million. There's got to be some kind of rule, right?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think there's some sort of time period where you can't do anything to somebody's contract. But I don't want to say definitively, because I do think there are certain types of contracts, depending on the language, that you could do something. But my reaction to this is like, dude, tough noogies. Like, you had every opportunity, and there were reports that he turned down a lot more money to stay here, and I think he only came back for like 1 year, like $4 million, something like that. It was the biggest shock to me of the whole offseason for the Patriots. I was like, what? Josh Uche, like, we've seen guys, whether it's like Mark Anderson, 10 years ago, 1 year he comes in, he's an edge rusher, and he's a situational guy, and Buffalo paid him through the nose, and of course, that was a terrible contract. We all knew it was going to be. But like, he had his chance to fly the coop. And, my read on it was he didn't love the offers. And so he figured, hey, I'll stay 1 more year in this role. I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm getting with the coaches. And maybe I try to hit it big again. But, there could be a little maintenance at play here where he's just like, all right, I signed, but I'm not going to kill myself for $4 million this year. I'm going to make some business decisions along the line. So that should be interesting. But in general, at this spot with Jennings as the run defender, Uche as the pass rushing platoon, I feel about the same, because I thought both of those guys were really good last year. And maybe Uche's stats weren't quite as good as they have been. It's still pretty damn good. So I feel really good about that platoon on that side.
I agree with you. I feel the same. How about Ja'Whaun Bentley?
So Bentley, my only concern with Bentley, so I feel better to start the season, because I think he wears down as the season goes along. Like, they need to, and maybe Taki being here can help take some reps from him. Raekwon McMillan's back. He can help, but Ja'Whaun Bentley's been really good for about a half, 2/3 of the season, and then he sort of trails off because just too many reps, too many injuries. It's a tough position, a lot of nicks, but I like Bentley. I've always, I want better at the position and faster, but I feel generally about the same.
I think he's underrated as far as what he does for this football team. You could argue that he's been one of their better players the last couple of years. I like the speed element, though, that I think they do have, because they have at least options there, Greg, this year. At least I feel that way going in with Taki and with hopefully Mapu. I know they have him in the safety room, but even if he can give you a couple of snaps and bring that athleticism, so they at least have options to improve their speed at the second level if they want to do that, given the matchup. But I feel the same about Bentley. How about Jahlani Tavai?
So I feel slightly worse just because he's missed the whole offseason coming back from a surgery. And also, I don't think, and it's not a knock on him or anything like that, I just don't think he can be any better than he's been. I mean, he's been really good. He's been really good the past 2 years in his role. I wish they would play him less snaps. I wish they would get more speed on the field. Maybe we see that with, Taki and Raekwon McMillan and, some of the, other options that they have at the position. But to me, it's just, I think he's maximized who he is. And and coming back from injury, I feel slightly worse.
I want to see how he looks as long as he's healthy. I feel the same. So I'll put down same right now. I know that Gerard Mayo said that he was itching to get back onto the field. So it doesn't sound like it's too serious of an issue. We'll keep an eye on it. But I just feel the same about these linebackers. We know who they are. We know what to expect. And as long as they're healthy, they're going to give you what you expect from them. Sub linebacker, I just brought him up a moment ago, Marte Mapu.
So I guess I would compare this to Mack Wilson, possibly. It's certainly not apples to apples, but, Mack Wilson was very productive last year as a pass rusher, played his best ball. Mapu, I'm just going off of what I've seen on the practice field, and I worry about that he's too small for that position. Certainly he's smart as hell. He's fast, but I really worry about his size of the position and whether, he can, be out there for 16, 17 games. He's already had injury problems in his time here. So I feel slightly worse about it. But I'd really like to see the kid get a lot of run in camp so we can figure out exactly what he is.
It's really early, so it's tough. You usually wait at least 2 years, if not 3 on rookies, right, after their class. So I still think we have time with Mapu to see if he really shows out at some point. But right now, I got to say I feel worse. I mean, Mack Wilson was good last year. He was impactful. He helped the team. And Mapu, to me, is still an idea more than a reality. I want to see the idea play out, but until I actually see it, it's just an idea. He could be this. He could be that.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. With the finals over, the hoop action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves alongside greats like Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson. You could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. Just the other day, I took Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3-points made and Breanna Stewart for more than 23 points. Plus, I went over to baseball because you all know I like baseball. Kyle Schwarber for more than 9-hitter fantasy score and Bryce Miller for more than 4 pitcher strikeouts. It's a lot of fun. You got to get in on this. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Let's continue with the defense. Let's go to the secondary now, Greg. Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, only 4 games out of the kid last year. But from what we saw, he got better with every single game. It looks like he's going to be a legit shutdown cornerback. Hard not to feel a lot better about that position. Hopefully they get a full year out of him because it looks like he could be a special talent.
Big fan, feel better, stay healthy, only going to improve. Left cornerback. For now, you have Jonathan Jones. I think there's still a chance that this changes. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yep.
If Alex Austin continues to play and look the way he did in minicamp and training camp, Alex Austin could be your left cornerback. But let's go with Jonathan Jones right now and your thoughts on him.
Right. Well, I mean, you're not wrong with that. I will say that even if Alex Austin is the left cornerback, depending on how many wide receivers they have on the field, I mean, normally it's 2 starting cornerbacks. So Jonathan Jones would be the starting cornerback. And then once they go to 3 wide, Jones would slide inside and Austin would come in as the third cornerback, the other boundary guy. But you're absolutely right to say that, it could end up being slightly changed a little bit here. I really like Jonathan Jones. I feel better about him coming back. Hopefully he's healthy. We haven't seen a whole lot of them. So it might be tough to say they're going to be better there, but I'm just a JJ fan. And so I feel better about the position.
I feel the same about Jonathan. And, if Alex Austin continues to play, I'll feel better about the cornerback position overall. Let's look at the slot, though. You've got Marcus Jones.
Yep. And again, moving pieces, this could end up being Jonathan Jones with Austin in the mix, or even the big guy. What's Isaiah Bolden? Who knows? Maybe he pops and he's in the mix for boundary cornerback. They could bring in a veteran boundary cornerback if they feel like they're lacking a little bit there. But, Marcus Jones, I feel the same because we just don't know what he is. I mean, he really hasn't shown the ability to be a, starting caliber, high rep cornerback in this league. There were a lot of high hopes for him coming in, being sort of like a honey badger type guy. That hasn't happened yet, but who knows? Maybe it just takes him some time. He's had the injury issues. I just think the makeup, the athletic ability, all that could translate really well. So I'm going to say about the same, but I hope we get a definitive answer on Marcus Jones this year.
I want him to succeed so badly. I want him to show the talent that I think he has, but I feel worse because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And one of the concerns was his size. And so can he get on the field and stay on the field? Until he does that, I'm not going to feel better about him. And I'm certainly not going to feel the same because he went down with another injury last year. So I really want him to work. I think he's got talent, but can't really do much if you continue to be all sorts of banged up. Can't make the club in the tub, as they say. All right. Before we get to the safety position, want to remind you can check out Boston Sports Journal, $50 for the year. Bedard and Company doing great work. Corrales continuing a victory lap on the Celtics and Banner 18. So go check them out, $50 for the year. Also, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. And I remind you, they got a cool free square for UFC 303 coming up. We're recording this on Friday afternoon, so tomorrow night, Saturday night, Alex Pereira has to get more than half a significant strike, and the square wins. So you want to check that out. Trust me when I tell you. And don't forget to download that app. Use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100, and then you can take advantage of that Alex Pereira square. All right, free safety, Kyle Duggar.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how they're going to slot at free safety, but, I just think Kyle Duggar is what he is. He's a really good player. He'll provide some splash plays. He'll get burned a few times on touchdowns. I mean, he is what he is, so I feel about the same at the spot.
I actually feel better because I think he will play closer to the line of scrimmage more often this year, which is, as we know, more of his comfort spot, his comfort zone, and he produces better in that area of the field. Jalen Hawkins is another guy we keep an eye on once we get to training camp because he got decent snaps during minicamp, so I wonder how much he'll play and be involved there. But I feel a little bit better about Duggar. He's got his money, and I think they'll play him more at the level of comfort. Jabril Peppers.
The same. I mean, I feel better because I just think he's I think he's great. I think he gets better every time he plays for the Patriots every year. So I have high expectations for him, and I think he's going to be one of the big leaders for this defense. And I think it's a really good thing for them. And I think a lot of people are going to follow Jabril Peppers' lead, and I think that's a good thing for the Patriots.
Love Peppers. Feel better about him this year than last year just because he was so good last year. He was one of my favorite players on that team. He's got the right personality, the right approach, and he follows it up on the field. Love Jabril Peppers. One of my favorite guys in the league, honestly, after watching him last year. He's good. Good football player, and he gets it. All right. That'll do it. Everybody enjoy your weekend. We'll be back early next week, of course, 4th of July week. Greg is going to be traveling. We will catch up with him somewhere in Denver at a location to be named. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about. But have a great weekend and be well.